Welcome, everyone, to episode 13 of the Bunker Talk. I am so excited to have my really good friend, Eric Misch, here with me. He's from Live Organic Energy. Outside of that, he's just actually one of my life friends, which I appreciate having you in my life. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. We don't really talk about business much, so I'm excited to do it here with everyone. So thank you for coming, and thanks for making time for me. And tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. Well, my name is Eric Misch. And I've been, we'll say, a lifelong entrepreneur, starting from a young child, probably around 12 or 13 years old is when I realized that
Nice.
I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. Probably started with, I don't know, maybe a lemonade stand or something.
Yeah.
But I did realize that I have a passion for it, and I was able to continue that passion throughout my entire life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you really remember what you sold that young or no?
Yeah, so right around 12, 13 years old, I think it started just wanting to make some money over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking around at what I could do. And I saw my garage. I saw a lawnmower, some lawn equipment. And I said, well, I could put this to good use. And so I started doing a couple of lawns in the neighborhood.
That's amazing.
And what started off as a little lawn landscaping business turned into a real business, and it ended up putting me through college. I ended up
No way.
So throughout my teenage years, I was going to high school by day. I would come home and cut lawns, and then people started asking me, can you do my landscaping and design something for me? And then as I built my business up, I saved up some money. I bought a truck. At 18, I was able to pay the truck off cash. I was like so proud of myself for doing that. And then I bought a pressure cleaner. I started pressure cleaning, and I got overwhelmed. I had so many customers. I had to hire some friends of mine, and ended up having a little staff. So
That's
I got experience
amazing.
doing that. Yeah, it was a great experience, and taught me a lot about what it means to run a small business. And I learned a lot of real world entrepreneurial lessons in that time. And so that really fueled my passion for wanting to go bigger with it.
That explains why your yard is so beautiful. Like, it's
I
not
love
just a
landscaping.
gift. Yeah, it's not just a gift. It's actually a passion, and you're really good at it.
Yeah, I love being outdoors. I love plants. I love I really get to connect with nature, and
It fuels you too, right? You recharge.
Oh, absolutely. It's relaxing, and I love it.
That's amazing. So let's get into it. Give me a couple things you've learned from that small business journey when you started. So the point of this podcast, I always say it, and I know that we spoke about it off air a little bit, but I'm young in business, right? Yes, my family has owned agencies in the past, but this is my first time that I own one. And I opened November 2019, right before the world ended, right? So it was a very, very tough year one. And so I am very grateful to be in a community, in an industry that is very supportive. I hired a mentor, which I know you believe heavily in mentorship, which we're going to talk about. But hiring a mentor, pushing myself to do things I wouldn't normally do has helped me in my business. And I feel like, I don't know that every industry is as supportive as mine, where I get people from the top offering me a hand, like, hey, Ciara, come be in this room, or they're dropping my name in rooms where I'm not in, right? So I thought, okay, well, it doesn't matter if you're young in age or just young in business. I figured if I could bring, highly effective business owners from our local community here to share the things that they've learned, it might accelerate someone's business journey, right? No matter the industry, because we're not talking industry specific. So any tips that you've learned throughout your many, many years, maybe some do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned support and mentorship. My first two businesses was basically on my own. And so I got a taste of what it's like to be an entrepreneur on my own in good times and bad, many bad times. There was no one there but me to pick myself up.
Right.
And
which many people don't have that gift. So
and it does
you're a
build,
self-starter
for sure,
by
and
nature.
it builds a certain amount of character
Yes.
when you can and do pick yourself up. But man, it's sure helpful to have a helping hand of someone who can do that for you. But and that's one of the things that I love about the business I'm involved with now, that it offers a sense of community and the sense of and mentorship, and there's a lot more support. But I learned early on what it's like not to have it, and now I really appreciate having it. So I think you asked me about some of the lessons I learned. So, just some of the basics of like managing a bottom line for a business, so the basic accounting equation, your revenue minus expenses equal your profit, making sure that you always stay profitable. But I also learned a lot about people in those early years. And essentially, in my mind, every single business comes down to people. And I think that's the number one skill that entrepreneurs need is people skills.
Yes.
And so that's something that I've worked on and developed over the years, continue to work on. But I learned a lot about working with different types of people, whether it was my customers or even when I started hiring employees, how to interact with them in an efficient, positive way. And so, all of those skills I took with me into my next ventures, and I've just continued to hone them as I've gone along.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I agree, people are either make or break your business, right?
For sure.
And people is one of the biggest ways and fastest ways you can scale as well, right? If you have the right people. Have you read Traction? By Gina Wickman? You would love it. So it's an
Gotta
EOS.
put that on my book list.
Yeah, it's an EOS system for any industry. It's very popular in our space. And he talks about this theory of the importance of having the right butt in the right seat.
Yes.
Right? Because someone may not be good at their current position and they might be frustrated, and the solution is always to get rid of them. But what if you just move them to the job that they should have been doing from the beginning? So, it's so challenging as a small business owner, right? You're wearing all these hats. Nobody's taught you how to do any of them.
Yeah.
Right. People don't teach you the importance of knowing your numbers. Sure, you should know your numbers, but how do you know your numbers? Nobody talks about that stuff, right? How do you hire the right people? How do you find the right butt for the right seat? Those types of things. How do you manage people? Like, give me like two things, because I actually have some issues even with delegation.
Yeah, me too. Struggle.
I struggle.
I still struggle with it. But it's something that is so important, and I've learned the importance of it. I'm a lot better at it now than I was, because when I first started in entrepreneurship, I wanted to have my hands on every single aspect of the business. And I learned that in order to scale, you cannot wear all those different hats. And I have learned the benefit of outsourcing. And so I'm a huge proponent of outsourcing now. Anything that I can outsource, I do, and find the right people or companies to handle those things for me. But it's essential if a business owner wants to operate efficiently and maximize their own talent. So you talked about, putting the right butts in the right seats, right? It's a matter of aligning people's skills and talents with the opportunities and areas within the business where they're going to be best utilized. But then I would also flip that and say, let's look at the business owner. How are they utilizing their own skills and talents? Because I see a lot of business owners they're working extremely inefficient.
Yes.
They're not maximizing their own talent. So how are they going to maximize the talents of others? And it oftentimes comes down to some humility and modesty, and saying that, number one, I'm not good at everything, because no one is. But there are some things that I'm very, very good at. And let me focus on those areas and let others focus on, areas that maybe I'm not as strong at. And that takes some humility. That takes some modesty. And that's hard for business owners sometimes. Being at the top of the food chain of their business, there's a certain amount of ego that comes into play, and sometimes it holds them back. So that's one thing I've learned, still learning. Put the ego aside, recognize what you're best at, and then, go in that direction. And I feel like if a business owner leads the way in utilizing and maximizing their own talents, they're going to be that much better at helping others do the same.
Yeah, I think that Traction actually does touch on this about every successful business needs to have a visionary and an integrator, and they're usually not the same person, even if the business owner thinks they are. Yeah. And it's like the visionary is big picture stuff, and then the integrator is on the ground getting it done, right? And that's the marriage, and that's when you scale, you blossom, and it's hard. Like you said, a lot of business owners don't want to let that go, or they think that they can do it. Right. And it takes two very different skill sets to be those. Right. Usually people that are visionaries are very big picture dreamers. Nothing is impossible. But the integrators are very detailed, very task driven, very, head down, do. Right. And it's very hard for the same person to do both. So it's like, how do you scale? How do you grow? And then the element of the managing of people. And we're, so hard to find people, especially in our industry where it's not sexy, right? Insurance is not something that people are flocking to. I think that people don't understand the power of residual income. For sure. So they don't even consider it. I mean, there's even few college courses on like risk management and insurance. There's finally one in Florida, but it's definitely not the first choice of even, college students to get into this industry. So we're having a shortage of talent because the industry is aging out. Mm-hmm. People aren't flocking in. Technology is advancing finally in our space because that was also old and outdated. So it's challenging to find the people. It's also challenging for these business owners that are looking for the people to change their style of management, right? It's not the same. Yeah. You can't just nowadays, if you want some talent, and they want to work from home, what are you going to do? Force them to come in? Well, you might lose a really good candidate that can help you scale your business without being flexible. Yeah.
And this phenomenon is happening in all industries. It's happening across the board. It's probably the number one challenge that I hear business owners express is finding good people, especially here in South Florida. Right. It's even harder than it is in other parts of the country. So let's just say there's no better time for entrepreneurs to get really good at people, their people skills. That's to me what is going to separate good businesses from great businesses going forward, is the ones that understand people the best, how they can connect with people, whether it's customers or it's employees, how they can maximize and utilize talent in the most efficient and effective way. Those are the ones that are going to have the competitive edge going forward. Mm-hmm.
How do you create a space of, because culture is such a big thing now too, right? So it's like how I have a problem mentally of doing it, like understanding it. And maybe it's because I've never really worked in a corporate setting. I was actually a telemarketer. That was my first job ever in high school for the Herald, a newspaper. So imagine that. But, I never really worked in a corporate setting as an adult. My parents owned agencies in the past, and I went straight from college to working with them. So the culture for us has always been family oriented. It's different, right? I've never been a part of a corporate office that actually I got to experience like a work culture thing, right? How do business owners find a balance of creating a culture, right, where it has a good space, a good friendly environment where people want to work, but also a culture of accountability? Like, I feel like that's so, it's just difficult to balance both. How do you not lose the good culture when having to hold people accountable or discipline people, things like that?
Yeah. And this is just my style of leadership and perspective on entrepreneurship, is that I tend to look for individuals who can hold themselves accountable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because number one, I don't like micromanaging. Yeah, I just don't enjoy it. Right. And it's just not a good use of my time. Correct. I want people that are going to think like entrepreneurs and act like entrepreneurs. And here's the beautiful thing of culture. When the culture is there, you don't have to do as much of that. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it, because people are coming to work because they want to be there. They're engaged in what they're doing, and they want to have fun doing it. So they tend to hold themselves accountable more so than environments where there's less engagement, and they need more of that accountability and that management. So that's just my take on it. I think if the culture's right, that You'll see more of self accountability.
Right. Like if accountability is a part of the culture. Right.
And in that environment, not only are people more productive,
Sure.
but the business owner has a lot more quality of life because they don't have to constantly be allocating mental space towards, well, what are my employees doing right now? You know, are they really working? Right. Are they there? They're going to be there because they want to be there. Right. And that's, to me, that's the ultimate environment for any organization.
And that's part of, even knowing the numbers, right? As a business owner, you know if someone's working or not. If you have those parameters and that expectation and that culture set, the numbers don't lie. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. And especially when you're talking about productivity positions, like a sales position, for example, it's fairly easy to measure productivity. I mean, I just look at the bottom line,
right?
And that shows me if someone's working or not. So do I need to know where they are every minute of the day? No, absolutely not. And frankly, my approach is I'm just looking for the end result.
Right.
I don't care how they get there.
Right.
And
every employee has a different style, right? Or a different a different capability, or maybe they're better at doing something like in our space, right? With prospecting, some people prefer cold calling, some people prefer doing dropping in. Maybe it's social media, whatever it is, maybe you're better at one than I am, but either way, if I'm hitting my numbers, like you said, it doesn't matter how I get there.
Yeah. I never want to penalize someone for working more efficiently.
Sure.
Right. So like the old school mentality of like time management, right? I think that's something that's just gone by the wayside now. Yes, you need to put a certain amount of time into what you're doing to get the result. But if you're just measuring productivity based on time, then you're going to miss out on a lot of people who just want to work efficiently. Right. And if they figured that out, fantastic. You know what? More power to you.
Right.
Because I'm just looking for that end result.
Well, and it also, someone that has figured that out, which is a secret sauce, which is they're ahead of the game for sure, but also they stay longer.
Well, they do. And you attract more people like that because see, they're looking for environments where that skill set is appreciated. Right. And so that might be part of the culture of an organization, So it's a different approach. I want to attract people that think and act like entrepreneurs, even if they're quote unquote employees, but they're given an environment where they can think for themselves, think and make decisions that are going to benefit the business.
Yeah, they have some ownership in their day-to-day and pride associated to it, right? It's not, you're not a dictator telling them what to do.
Exactly.
Right. That's powerful. Do you encourage them, or what is your stance or your belief on employees or like creating their own brands? Because that's kind of like a thing in our space where it's like some agency owners don't want that. No, they represent the agency. Some people believe like, hey, more power to you. Create a name for yourself in the community. Like what is your stance on personal branding in general?
My entire approach to business stems from an abundance mindset.
Yes.
Right. So, there's abundance versus scarcity. Right. And so, things are changing rapidly, now with social media, and a lot of people are branding themselves. And so for some organizations, they could see that as threatening, like it may encroach. And so I just feel like if businesses stay in a scarcity mindset where they're always worried about what or how their employees are going to hurt them, they're going to miss out on a lot of opportunity that their employees can bring to them. And there may be some employees that say, hey, listen, I've learned a lot here. It's been a fun ride. You know what? I'd like to go out on my own, start my own agency. Okay. From my perspective, more power to them. Right, I'd actually help them.
That's what my dad did. Yep.
I'd help them with that transition. Yep. And to me, what I think that could yield is more opportunity down the line, because that's how some great partnerships are formed, actually. And so rather than focusing on how we can hold people back and clip their wings and make them more, what can we do to help them flourish, even if it means that they may leave the nest. And so I think at the end of the day, a business owner will get much farther with that kind of a strategy than constantly thinking about, oh, well, how do I, prevent my employees and like that's just scarcity mindset. So,
and I think that trickles down to the culture, right?
Absolutely.
If you're clipping their wings in something like that, especially like in their creativity, if you have an employee that wants to be creative in their space and you're clipping that it trickles down to the culture. You probably run the whole business that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It starts with the mindset.
Yes.
And I know we were going to get to mindset, but
because
it's such a big topic,
Yeah.
it's going to come up in every conversation about entrepreneurship. Mindset is key. And I think as a business owner, it's so important to continue working on personal development, no matter where you are in the journey, because that's the one thing that will hold the business owner back, and it will hold the entire organization back if the business owner's stagnant in that area. And I just find there's so many business owners, some of which are somewhat successful. They're not doing personal development. They feel like, I don't need to.
Right. I made it.
Yeah, I made it. I made it already. And so
they're capping themselves.
They've stopped evolving. They've stopped growing as a person and as an entrepreneur. And I just think that's a shame because there's so much opportunity for that. And it does absolutely trickle down to the rest of the organization.
So, okay, we're talking to someone that's stagnant in business, maybe 15 years, they're exhausted. Maybe they feel defeated. What's the easy, or where do they start with their personal development? Where would you suggest they start?
Number one, put yourself back in a state of gratitude.
Okay.
That's the number one. Whenever someone feels burnt out, they feel like their tank is depleted, and it happens as an entrepreneur. And it happens to me even now, because it's going to always happen as an entrepreneur. We give so much that eventually, the energy stores get depleted. The one thing that always works for me, put myself in a state of gratitude. And and it sounds cliche, but maybe just list 5 or 10 things that you have in your life that you're grateful for. Instantly, mindset shifts. It's amazing how powerful
it's not as bad as your mind is telling you.
Exactly.
Your life is actually fabulous.
It's never as bad as our minds tell us it is. So just put ourselves back in a state of gratitude, and then, fill our cup back up. I think that's so important. I should be able to look at any entrepreneur's reading list or Audible list and see a bunch of books or audios in there that they're currently listening to. And that's how I matter of fact, I don't even need to see their balance sheet.
Right.
Show me your Audible list. And then I know, where you're at, because that's the truth. The ones that are continually working on themselves and refining, honing, their mindset, their character, those are the ones that are succeeding.
Right.
And if they're doing all those things and they haven't succeeded yet, I know it's just a matter of time.
Right.
That's how deep the connection is between personal development and success.
All right. So give me a book or two that you think is life-changing. I'm reading Never Split the Difference right now.
Okay.
By Chris Voss. It's great.
There's a couple of classics, obviously.
I'm going to write these down.
Think and Grow Rich, I think just needs to be, that
I read it this year.
Yeah.
It's great.
That needs to be on everyone's, top 3
Well,
list.
and it talks about that too, about talking, repeating the same sentences and the same affirmations to yourself every morning and at night, and the power of doing that.
And it works. It does work. Cliche. It's really true.
It's actually insane how much it works. I started to do that to write down my goals. I did it 2020. I started to write down my goals, and one of them was I wanted to present at an industry conference, even though I am not a public speaker by any stretch. And do you know that it happened last year?
Wow.
It took me 2 years and one of the years there was no conferences because it was COVID.
Well, get this statistic. We are 43% more likely to achieve our goals if they're written down. We don't have to do anything else, but just write them down. Now, if you commit to your goals and you execute and take action towards achieving your goals, you're going to, that percentage goes up dramatically.
Blow it out of the water.
Drastically. But just writing them down, 43% more likely to achieve a goal. And that's really important as an entrepreneur. We should always have personal, professional goals written down. I like to, write them up, put Post-it notes or whatever. I, put them all over my computer screen refrigerator, whatever it is, have a dream board. I don't know. But it's so important to have them down in writing and have them visible to you every single day. Well,
especially for the days that you're feeling defeated, right? Or you lost the big customer, or you lost a great employee for whatever reason, and you just feel, some of those days you're just like, why am I doing this? Right?
We have those days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then when you remember the gratitude mixed with the goals, right? It's like this, you're thankful for where you've been, but you have so much left you want to accomplish. I mean, that wakes you up.
Formula for success. Right. Really is. That's the recipe right there. Those are the ingredients.
There you go.
Put them together and bake the cake.
Okay. So Think and Grow Rich. What else? Give me another one.
Critical. I have a couple of more so industry specific books to me, but they've taught me a lot about, the power of entrepreneurship and residual income that you mentioned. One is GoPro by Eric Misch. I love that book. Another one is The 4-Year Career, Richard Bliss Brooke. Love that one as well. And then another one that's had a major impact on my life is Beach Money by Jordan Adler. Yep.
I've never even heard of that one either. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Those are probably my top 3 right now.
Okay.
But yeah, all the classics, Napoleon Hill. There's so many out there that
I read the one that's helped me, and I haven't fully implemented it 100%, but even just implementing it a little bit has helped me. So I got to just get better at it, which maybe you can help me with this. It's going to be a question I'm going to ask, but I read Atomic Habits, right? Because I did too. I'm a person that kind of lives casually. I don't have any children, so I don't have that tight schedule. It's different when you have children and you're molding human beings, right? You have to teach them to be responsible, and there's a schedule. They got to go to school. It's different. They live a more structured life as parents. So I think that I've done that, and I've seen the growth personally and in my business from just implementing certain things that has made me more scheduled. Yes. To be more intentional with my time. I still need to get way better at it, and I need to manage my calendar a little better, because I feel like sometimes it runs me instead of me being like, I need to just manage my time better in a way where it's more efficient, more productive. But that comes with discipline. Right. So how does somebody work on being more disciplined?
Okay. Well, and I like how you worded
because I need it.
More discipline.
Right.
Okay. So I'm a lot like you. I like to a lot of the things in my day, just off the cuff. I don't like to have such a specific plan for everything. I just like to, let me get there and I'll wait and see how I feel. And then I'm going to make the decision. So what I say for people like us is that instead of trying to change who we are and turn us from, and it's not even that we're undisciplined. We're creatives, right? We like to stay in that creative zone. Is how they can just incorporate a few things that will allow them to stay even more so in their creative zones, right? Because the one thing that hurts a lot of creatives is that because they lack some of that structure, they're all over the place and they can't implement anything. Right.
That's kind of, my head is full of so many things. Then I wake up in the middle of the night and it's just like, I can't silence my head. I'm thinking about, I need to do this. And right now, even to scale, which is kind of like, I have like a bottleneck, I feel right now. We're having like a therapy session here. I'm supposed to be interviewing you. But I think that this is part of, I think a lot of business owners struggle with this. And it's like, I need to document my process.
Yeah.
To scale.
Good one.
How? Yeah. Give me some. Let's talk about that.
The one thing that's helped me a lot, and I've learned a lot from my wife. My wife, which is, she's the opposite end of the spectrum. She's total organization and everything is structured. But finding that healthy balance. So one of the things that she does very effectively is list manage. And it just helps me because when you get those great ideas, right, which they usually come at the oddest times.
Right.
In the shower, you're driving, you're middle of the night, and the idea is to take a moment and just write those down. Okay. Kind of going back to what we said with the goals, when those ideas are written down, and because now what we can do is, because we can see, it creates a visual of the idea that was in our head. So we can see the idea, and we also have to write the idea out, which usually a lot of times when the idea goes from in the head to on paper, it might change a little bit. You might actually refine the idea and come out with a better idea on paper than the one that popped into your head. So now you create this list of ideas, and there's a lot of things you can do once it's on paper and it's listed out. Like you can prioritize it, right? Yeah. Like maybe you say, hey, this is an idea I'd like to implement in the next 3 months, but I have one that I'd like to implement in the next week. So you can kind of prioritize that list. And it also helps you not to forget the great idea that you came up with. So just implementing that same technique of writing your goals down, you could do that with ideas. And that in itself, for a creative person, is a way to bring a little structure into their environment.
Right. And then the discipline will follow, right? When you have a timeline for that project, that idea. So it's gratitude, goals, ideas.
Yeah.
We're going to create this formula.
I like that.
We're going to make a shirt here.
That sounds good. We're on a roll.
Yeah, right. Process though. I as someone that doesn't really do everything the same way, it's very hard for me because I'm the one doing it, right? So when I have to sit down and define how I do something, it's challenging for me because it's just like, well, this is how I do it. I don't know if it works for someone else. So I feel like I need to document my process, give it to someone else, have them try it and see if they achieve the same outcome.
Right. And you talked about scaling. Okay. So for a business to scale, the business has to have a system of duplication.
Correct.
Okay. Because you're one person,
right?
And you're never going to be able to duplicate yourself.
No, unfortunately.
Okay. I'm sure there's times when you wish you would, or you could, but ultimately, you can't be everywhere at the same time, right? So in order to scale, you need to have a system or a process, which let's just say anyone or nearly anyone can pick up and follow.
Right.
And so if not, then the process is probably too creative. So what's going to hold back from the scaling is that you're the only one in the business that can actually do it, right? That's going to hold your scaling back. So it's if you can redefine it and put it into a format which anyone could pick up, then that's when a business is going to just scale up.
That is so powerful. And it makes so much sense. Yeah. Because if it's not something that can be duplicated, then it's just maybe too abstract of a process. And then there's stuff that it's just because I know how to do it. Right. That's not on paper.
Another thing too is when you have a business that has a system of duplication, and it could be any process within your business, it also adds tremendous more value to the business. Because I think the goal for any entrepreneur is to eventually do something with this sweat equity that they've put in their business. What am I going to do to it? Am I going to eventually leave it to my kids one day? Am I going to sell it? Well, here's the thing. No one pays for superheroes in business. If you are the end all be all in that business, if you cannot be replaced, and I hate to say it, but if you can't be replaced, your business has no value.
Right.
Because what happens when you're gone one day? So you sell the business, now you're no longer there, and someone else is taking this over. What if they bought? Right. If you're no longer there and you are the business, what are they paying for?
Right.
So when it's very important for businesses to have systems in place, and systems stand for save yourself time, energy, and money. SYSTEM. They're
so good.
Yeah, they're helpful. They're helpful to the business owner. They also bring tremendous value to the business. And you work more efficiently. You actually will work more efficiently. You'll save yourself a lot of time, energy, and money.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is so true. That, this is every business, no matter, it's funny because sometimes business owners think like, oh, if only I can get there, if I can get to my 5 million in sales in our space, right? 5 million, I can scale, I can hire 2 people. Yeah, but it doesn't stop. You just have more headaches at that point, right?
Everything's relative.
Everything, exactly. In my space, the person that has a 50 employee agency has bigger headaches than me, right?
Right.
So it's being able to really define the headache sources, right? As an entrepreneur, right? And it's people, process, revenue, right? I'm sure there's a couple more. Attraction talks about it. I forgot what the other ones are, but people, process, money, that are always constantly on our mind. How do we duplicate it? How do we make more? How do we refine it? But these types of things, these conversations, the personal development, all associating with people, other business owners. It's so funny, right? Like if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right. It's going to get a mentor. All of these things really, really help not just scale a business, but also enhance just your personal life, your quality of life, right?
Absolutely.
This year we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and it's the first time, thank you. It's the first vacation in 3 years that I took my laptop and I didn't take it out. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of felt like myself again. It had been so long, every vacation I go on, first of all, it's work related, right? It's work at some point, it's the conference, and I'll stay 2 extra days because I'm there, right? But you just don't disconnect because you can't. Well, in the stage I'm at, but it felt good this year to finally just be like, oh my gosh, this is what I used to feel like before this journey.
And it goes back to what you said. When a business owner after 10, 15 years is experiencing burnout,
right?
I know they don't have systems in place.
Right.
That's why they're burnt out. If they've set things up correctly, they've set the table correctly, they are going to be able to take time off, and they're not going to have to worry about what's happening with the business. Is it still running? Are the employees running wild?
Right.
What am I going to come back to? Oh my gosh, a client, this, that. They're going to be able to take that time off and recharge their battery.
So how does a business owner that is in this weird space where it might even be plateauing if they're new enough, right? And there's usually a plateau before you hit the next milestone. How does a business owner go from working in to on the business? So that they can duplicate, right? That's kind of like where I'm at. Like I'm the person that does it all, but I need to remove myself to be able to work on it only and bring someone in to be able to work in it. Right.
Well, first off, it's a process. That in itself is a process. Not going to happen overnight.
No.
But you have to take steps every single day towards that goal. So maybe that might be a good goal to write down.
Right,
I want to be able to, I want to have a business that I'm not married to.
Right.
I can take some time off if I need to, and it can continue running. Your goal might be to be, in a sense, replaceable in the business, in that the day-to-day operations can continue with or without you.
Right.
Okay. I for me, that's always my goal when I'm building a company. Is I want to, try to be interchangeable in that company. Then I know I've reached my goal with it. So taking steps towards that, and they might be small steps on a daily basis. Maybe it's just a process that you have, a little process that you've always done within the business. And, you, again, going back to what we talked about, you think, man, this is my little baby. I'm so good at doing this, and no one else can do it. And it's just one recognizing that, someone else can do it. Have a little more faith in other people, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, can you define it better and train someone?
And delegate.
And delegate
That's
it.
what it is.
Yeah, delegate it so that they can do it. Delegation's a powerful thing. And once you experience the other side of delegation, a whole lot of quality of life comes into play, a lot of freedom, and a huge sense of relief. And I know it's hard initially, but once a business owner experiences it, usually feel pretty good about it.
It's hard to go back the other way to doing it. Yeah. In my space, it's people really like to talk to the same person. And so when you've been the person that's always been there to help them, it's a level of training to the customers. Well, like, hey, listen, like I'm still here, but now this person they're better equipped to handle your account because I'm on the road, I'm doing this, I'm growing my business. But some that's also an art of handling it with the client that's used to speaking to you. And they feel like, oh, you've grown, you don't care about their business anymore. Some of the clients do get a little sensitive about it. So that's also.
And clients understand, actually. They understand that, hey, I can't reach you 24 hours a day.
Right.
There's going to be a time when you're going to be sick. There's going to be a time when you're going on a vacation. And, if they are accustomed to talking to a team of people, and we deal with it even in the business that I have now, the first thing that I do is introduce them to their team. And I do that early on because, again, I don't want to be the single point of contact. Right. And as much as they love me, and I tell them, as much as you love me, you probably may not always want me to be a single point of contact either, because what happens if I'm out? Then you want someone to handle. You don't want to wait 2 weeks until I come back from vacation to handle that situation. You want to know who else, if something happens to Ciara, who else can I go to? And so I want you to feel comfortable in working with our team. Right. And I emphasize that a lot with them. And even though they appreciate me, overseeing that relationship, they also feel a little bit more at ease knowing that if I go down, someone else is going to be there to pick up the pieces. Yeah.
One of the reasons that I really wanted to have you on the podcast was because when I think about consistency, I think about you.
Oh, thank you.
You are very consistent.
Thank you.
In there's no doubt in my mind. Like, I know you're hustling all the time. Like, I know that you are consistent. How'd you get there?
Consistency is a skill, and it's one that anyone can learn.
Okay.
I can't say I always had it, but I developed it, and all the things that we're talking about today, I feel are skills. I never buy into the fact when people say, I'm not this or I'm not that. I do it to myself even sometimes. I'll say, and I'll box myself in. Like I'll say, well, I'm not an organized person. And I need to check. Right. That's part of my self-limiting beliefs.
Right.
I haven't fully developed the skill of organization.
Right.
Does it mean that I can't? No, absolutely not. Because I think I'm a relatively smart person. I could figure out how to organize. Right. So consistency is the same thing. It's a skill, and it can be developed and mastered by anyone. It goes back to, you cited an excellent book I hope people pick up that book, Atomic Habits. That is all about consistency. And that book actually really helped me to be consistent. By the way, consistency is much easier than inconsistency. Much easier, because you don't have to restart all the time. Right. And the cool thing is that when you do something enough times and it becomes habit, you no longer have to think about it. That's the beauty of it. It just comes automatic, right? So like, let's say when, and you don't remember this, you're probably too young to remember, but there was a time when cars didn't come with seatbelts, and, or maybe they did, but people didn't really use them, even in the front seats. And so I remember as a kid when seatbelts started becoming a thing, and then actually the law was passed that you had to wear a seatbelt in order to drive a car, be in the front seat, or you'd get ticketed. So there was this shift in social behavior where people were trying to get accustomed to the habit of clicking it. And I remember I was like, okay, I got to think about it. And the first few times I had to really think about it. But when's the last time you actually thought about like putting your seatbelt on? Well, now the cars remind you if you don't.
Well, now they beep until
they beep. They annoy you until you. Yeah. But even if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have to think about it anymore. Why? Because it's habit. So that's a little example of how powerful habits are. And you could take this with a variety of different areas of your life. If you get to the point where if you don't do something, something's missing from your day. Like you're used to working out every morning, you miss a workout, and like
your day's off.
My day's off. You've built a habit, and you can do that.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah. It actually is a good feeling. Yeah. You can do that with anything in your life. So it's just a matter of committing to it and doing it enough times where you no longer have to put mental energy into this is what I need to do. Thinking about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
And that builds consistency. And I also think that consistency, once you build this habit of being consistent, that it's easier to be consistent in various areas of your life. So be a consistent person in general. By the way, consistency breeds a lot of trust, right? So when you say, you're one of the most consistent people I know. And by the way, that's the biggest compliment you can give me. Yeah, that's a
Yay.
huge compliment.
Well, you're doing the work.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so important to me because that's what I want to be known for.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my personal brand. And when you say you're consistent, I take from that, I trust you, right? Because we trust things that are consistent, right? Like the sun rising. We don't ever wonder, is it going to rise today? Is it going to set? It's consistent always, no matter what. And so we expect that consistency from others for the most part too. So the question is, are we being consistent in various areas of our life? Are there areas where we could be more consistent? And I always, analyze things to see, can I up my consistency game? And it doesn't mean that we're not allowed to have an off day or we can, we might fall off the.
You took a vacation. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You took a couple of weeks off from, you're working out every day. You took a couple of weeks off for recovery, but how quickly can we get back on? Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. As an entrepreneur.
I agree with you on that. And especially when you're building your image, your brand, especially online, on being consistent online, 100%, it breeds trust.
For sure.
Immediately people will know. I mean, even when I'm going to buy a product, I look them up on social media and I'm like, they haven't posted anything since 2021. They must not be in business.
Exactly.
Immediately.
That's exactly what you think.
I move on to the next one.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? Right. The power that has, but just even showing up, I don't even care that it has 10,000 likes. The likes don't bother. I just want to know what the company, how consistent are they in engaging their audience? And then I automatically trust them a little bit.
Right. It's why franchises are so successful.
Mm-hmm.
Why are McDonald's and Burger King? Is it because they have the best hamburger, the best fries, the best? They don't have the best product.
No,
right?
no.
Plain and simple.
Right.
But they're consistent. You know what you're going to get every time you go there, and so it's a powerful thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. Last question: what are you excited for? What's coming in the future for you?
I am more optimistic than ever, and I'm always optimistic. I'm an optimistic person.
I mean, I need to be around you way more.
We need to be around each other way more. But we're in very challenging times right now, to say the least. You look at the state of the economy, where we are in our social journey. There may be more challenges right now in this time than I've seen in my lifetime. It's a very, very challenging time for people. However, challenge in my mind breeds opportunity.
Yes.
Right. And so that's why I'm so optimistic about the future. Technology is growing at an insane breakneck pace. What I'm seeing with AI technology is blowing me away. Yesterday, I put in, I just achieved about $1 million a month in sales revenue, right? Which is a huge breakthrough. Thank you. Took me 11 years to get there.
Nice.
And so just for the fun of it, I put into ChatGPT, how do I go from $1 million a month in sales to $2 million a month in sales? So going back to your scaling topic. And I got 5 amazing suggestions from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's literally all I put in there.
Yeah.
I put my industry, I put my goal, and it gave me like 5 brilliant suggestions. And were they perfectly on point? Not quite, but they were about 95%.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. And I said, wow, that's powerful. Okay. So, I sent it to a friend of mine and she said, oh, what is this world coming to? We're all going to be replaced. No, we're not. We're not going to get replaced. What we are going to do is we're going to be prompted for more ideas. So the amount of time that we're spending right now just coming up with initial ideas in that creative zone, we're going to be more so in that zone because the technology is going to prompt us. And as I was reading through the suggestions and then I started coming up with all these other ideas and I'm just like, wow, what I'm doing is I'm just using technology to sort of guide me in different areas that maybe I wasn't looking in before. And it's no replacement for our supercomputers, our human brains, but we're using them now more effectively and efficiently. I'm really excited about how technology is going to be used in every business. You mentioned technology in the insurance industry. We're going to see a lot more of it, right? It's going to get a lot smarter. And that means we're going to be better utilizing our skills and our talents and our energy. A lot of the mundane tasks that we're used to doing now, those are going to continue to be automated. It's happening across the board in every industry. We're seeing it in my industry as well. And I'm not scared of it. I'm excited for it. Bring it on.
What the abundance and the scarcity mindset applies even to technology.
Absolutely.
Right? Because only the people that never evolve with the times fear it. Right? And so everything that we've talked about, personal development, consistency, working on yourself, your mindset, your goals, gratitude, all of that stuff is what already sets the top performers apart from the bottom of any industry. So those people that are afraid of it or refuse to learn how to use it to their advantage, to grow their business, to enhance their experiences, all of those things are the ones that are going to get eaten up by it. Yeah. Right?
They get stuck and they become consumed by it.
Right.
And eventually they...
Netflix and Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's just happening at a faster speed, I think. And now it's a wider threat. It's casting a bigger threat. But if you don't evolve and use it, like you said, as another piece of making a business complete, right? It's not our enemy, it's our friend. Like in our industry, we're using it for blogs, right? I can get a blog on anything and then tweak it, right? It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you a foundation. And in this cycle of running a business, sometimes you're just out of ideas and you just need a couple ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And, got to bring it back to mindset again. It goes back to the mindset. Here's how we know there's an area that we need to focus on. Whenever we experience resistance to something, okay? And especially if it's a trend, if it's a growing trend. If we're resisting it, by the way, you're not going to stop the trend. You won't be that one person. No. I'm going to stop, AI technology from coming. It's coming out anyway, whether you like it or not.
And it's going to run you over.
And it's going to, it's going to either run over or jump on the train and ride it. But that's an identifying mark of an area of personal development that we need to, and again, if we peel the onion back, it's probably coming down to some kind of a self-limiting belief or scarcity mentality that's coming into play. So when you just embrace it and, make the trend your friend, excel, lean into it, excel in that area. And that may give you the competitive advantage over your competitors.
And especially you can even be a resource to your clients and your prospects by using it. If they come to you with a problem that you don't know the answer to, I mean, you have an endless supply of information that you can ask it in any way, specifically just about, I know that the technology world is scaling way faster, like ChatGPT is already like a thing of yesterday, right? Exactly. But something like that where it could be such a valuable resource to any industry, any business owner, any of us. I think that's great. And I agree with you. I think that I'm trying to use it in my business as far as to help me scale. It's okay, what are the things that I do that technology can do for me?
Right.
So I don't have to spend time and I can do more of this, right? And I could do more things that help me grow my business. I can work on myself, all those things. Listen, I got to have you back on.
We could go for a couple hours here. We
didn't even scratch the surface here. This was amazing. The time flew. Yeah, part 2 will come soon. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And spending time with me. And tell the people where they can find you.
Well, probably the best place is my website, ericmisch.com, ERICMISCH. Outside of that, I'm on Facebook under Eric Misch and Instagram under _commissioner.
Yep. And we'll put it all in the show notes.
LinkedIn,
anyways.
Of course, as well.
LinkedIn. Yeah. Great. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship, yours and Jackie's, and Alfalfa. They're cute little doggies. So he could have come. He should have come.
Yeah. We could have had him on.